It's good to see everybody. I am excited about our time together. My name's Josh, and I'll kind of start with introducing myself, and then we're going to dive in. I know that we have like a little bit less than an hour together. I will try not to fire hose you too much. I got a lot of passion about youth ministry, and so I'll share a little bit about what's going on here for those of you who have not heard it yet. But I'll introduce myself. So I'm from Lancaster County. I'm like pretty brand new to Rosedale Network. Last Pastors Conference was my first time.
Oh, wow.
However, the host family I was staying with, we confirmed that her and I, we are first cousins, ninth removed.
Oh, wow.
So I have like the spreadsheet. She printed it out for me. So my family is Anabaptist on both sides, and so she was able to track that down pretty quickly, which was great. I have been in like the youth ministry world for like 20 years at this point. So I was a youth pastor for 10, and now I've been coaching and training youth pastors through Christian Endeavor, the organization that I serve with for almost a decade as well. My family, I have one wife who's awesome. I have 4 kids of my own. They are 15, 14, 12, and 9. So like youth ministry every day. And it is like the coolest thing. Some people are like, oh, teenager, when your kids become, I'm loving it. I'm loving every like messy second of it because, I mean, my kids are awesome, but also like just being able to like see them start to really wrestle with stuff and see like their independence, but their dependence, and being able to like do a little bit of this, of like get out there, be activated in what God's calling you to do is so exciting. So 4 kids of our own, and then we have a little 1-year-old foster baby who's been with us for 9 months now, baby Lane, and he's awesome. It was wild to get back into diapers. That was like, oh man.
9 years not having to.
Yeah, it was nuts, but such a blessing. And man, seeing my kids, I have a son.
And
and
yourself though in diapers, right? Sit back in the.
Good clarification. Thank you. Yes, yeah. So I did turn 40 yesterday, but I do not have to wear diapers yet. Yeah. But seeing my kids like bond with little baby Lane has just been super, super cool. All right. So I want to dive into a crazy concept. Some of you have heard about this, but let me kind of just level set because I know there's some new faces. Our goal is to disciple teenagers less like hippos and more like honeybees. And now you might be like, Josh, what on earth does that mean? Well, hippos are consumers. They eat 110 pounds of vegetation every day. So that's the equivalent of my 15-year-old son. Just like every day, like hungry hippos just eat and eat and eat. And man, so often, unintentionally, with the best of motives, churches can often disciple teenagers as consumers. Like, hey, just come and play the game that the adults planned.
Come eat the pizza with us.
Literally eat the food that adults have provided. Come listen to the awesome Bible lesson that the youth worker has prepared. And it's not that any of those things are bad. I just think those things are incomplete. And so if that's all we do, if we kind of set the bar so low, like, hey, just come and don't do anything weird, then I think students are going to end up tripping over that low bar that we set. So if we can do less like hippos, less like passive consumers, and more like honeybees who are activated and engaged contributors to God's kingdom. So that's the idea, moving from consumers to contributors, moving from passive to active and engaged. I mean, it's what Greg has been challenging us this whole time at Pastors Conference. And I just love Dare to Share and Christian Endeavor. I've done a lot of work together. Greg is like, dude, we need to have the gospel be central and get students out there sharing it. And I'm like, absolutely. And youth ministry needs to be a training ground where they discover their gifts and they use their gifts. They take ownership and responsibility so that they're able to go out and do the things that God has called them to. So Greg and I were talking yesterday, and he was like, yeah, our two organizations are like slow running toward each other on the beach. Like, I love you, I love you. Yeah, like we're just hand in hand. So I love everything Greg has been sharing. So this is the foundation. This is really the starting point. My goal is to challenge you and to equip you to help make the shift. Because y'all, I think I tell everybody about hippos and honeybees, like as often as I can, and no one's ever been like, nope, don't want to do it. Like we just want passive consumer. No, everyone's like, yeah, but making that shift to actually doing that's tough, because that means we gotta like look at things differently. We got to measure success differently. We got to like report on what it is we're doing in youth ministry to our church leadership differently. So making that shift is a challenge. And so we'll talk a little bit about how that works today. I have a handout that I'm going to pass out. As I'm doing that, I have a bunch of cards up here, okay? And I want, I'm not about passive consuming, so I'm going to get you to wrestle a little bit. I'm going to get us to actively engage together. So here's the question. How is your church, how is your ministry setting right now? So think like this school year. How are you doing the hippo thing? And how are you doing the honeybee thing? Because I think every ministry, whether you've heard this language before or not, you've got some of both. Like some ways where you're like, whew, I have not been asking my teens to do anything other than sit. Other areas, you might not have called it honeybee, but you're like, oh no, we've been like challenging students to get up, get moving, get activated, get after it. So as I pass these handouts out, I want everyone to come up, find a card that represents, man, here's how we've been doing the hippo side, and then another card that represents how we've been doing the honeybee side. So it can be anything, no wrong answers, but find a card that for you kind of represents each. Go for it.
I've that before, but you learn to. Sorry, he depends.
I do, yep. Depending on Jesus.
So I do it, and have dessert now. Yeah, there's a little vinegar in there too. I like that.
Give you guys one more thing.
How much stuff do you expect me to hold in class, man?
Even more, even more.
Just making sure.
Yep.
Preparing myself for it. I'm sorry, we kind of buddied a little bit yesterday, so now you know I got a harassment class.
Good. Please do.
Okay.
Yep.
I will, I promise.
Yep. It would be too boring if you didn't.
All right, sounds good.
Dude, I love the mustache, man. I think you gotta keep it going. Yeah.
I must ask you a question. How long you been growing it like that?
So it's a very specific purpose. I'm in the play. That's in March. No one doesn't realize. Facial grounds for a passion fest. Yep. Both these are supposed to be the same, right?
I try to stop
These two
doing
big.
facial.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah, it doesn't always
I know you guys probably just need one, but
I don't look so good with it. He looks better with the facial hair.
all right. So there was some like deliberation. I saw you guys like, ooh, what are these pictures and what should I pick? All right, we'll take it even a step further. Let's make like 3 groups. Kind of, however you want to divide. I'll let you wrestle with how you're going to divide yourselves, but let's group up 2 or 3 groups and just take a few minutes to share the cards you chose with each other and why, what they represent in your ministry settings. All right, go for it. Feel free to move chairs, circle up, gather up, and let's do some sharing.
I think this one, because sometimes that's like what I feel like when you're getting kids to talk. About stuff. Or that's what I feel like anyway. I'm not sure that's what it's going to be. And that's what it feels like sometimes that the response is. The ones that are left. I think it's junior year, so they're not like
Christ is my foundation.
and then, I guess,
Everything around me is shaking. I've never been more blessed. I'll put my
I don't know, we're kind of feeling out phase right now in our youth. We're trying to rejuvenate it, bring life to it, so I guess that was kind of both.
Yeah, trying to bring some cohesiveness, and there's a lot of that don't get along, and so like the oxygen.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's info or univy. Neither.
I don't know which one that would be. And then this one, I just like the soccer ball head, and I'm thinking we need to, kick the ball.
Ooh, I like that.
There's a lot of
consumer need, entice them, trying to bring them in. Yeah, this is just that mentality. And so many times I think, yeah, we'll do that. Yeah. And then here, this is sort of wild and crazy. We're in this together. Let's work together. They're both in the same situation. How are we going to help each other out? The honeybees help each other.
Yeah. All right. Well, I had this since we take a mission trip every summer, so I thought that was maybe a destination someone might go to. But we do all the planning and preparing, and we make it easy for them to go to. But then this here, I guess it's a butler kind of serving. They are supposed to then help with fundraising, and like we just did a Valentine's banquet where they helped make the meal and serve it, provide the entertainment. So that was kind of a way that they could contribute. As far as the Wednesday nights, we do like one student a week as a kind of so that I love that part. So I usually bring lessons with them. Each student. Way more
This is just like landfill this place. I feel like from a consumerism standpoint, I feel like we really try to provide space and ample opportunity in small groups and stuff for them to come and share what they're going through and share, hardships that are going on in their life. And also taking that and speaking into it. And, so that's kind of from the bird's perspective. And then I don't know what this guy's doing, but on the airplane about to jump or something. Cause
Claim a victory.
yeah. But I take this one because yeah, I feel like we challenge them also to be scared to pray. Like we start all of our
he usually does all the
intercessory prayer,
prayer requests. Because man, God laid something on my heart today that you guys up here praying. And I was like,
hope they take it.
oh my goodness. And so there was good with it, and got all the prayer requests taken care of and prayed, and then we got in the classroom and I told them, I was like, hey, we're going to do the same thing, because literally the Lord told me the same exact thing. I couldn't believe it. I should have been able to believe it, but anyway, so we get in there and we sit around the room, and a lot of these kids, they know each other, and it's mostly boys, and actually at that time it was all boys. I was like, the guy across the table, my son, those kids that come there, junior youth, probably nice that don't go to church at all, and or some that don't go to our church even. And I was like, there's somebody going to mess up? And still, you guys are laughing and being dorks. I was like, just give them grace and let's move on. And it was beautiful. Oh my goodness. And so now we do it every Wednesday night. Like tonight, they'll start. They'll go around in a circle. Give them more glory or whatever. And it was pretty awesome. Trying to get them more engaged.
But, I just want to encourage you to
they don't have like a lesson. They're just a raw Bible study.
that information.
The problem is, we're going to be looking at
And of course, pray about it, people are like, Lord, taking that person,
All right, I'll call us back together. You guys can feel free to stay, or we're gonna be back in these groups again. But I will be talking for a little bit. So I love some of like the stories that I was hearing you guys sharing, and I also love how this whole like hippos to honeybees thing. You might have walked by the booth out there and been like, I don't know what's going on, but once you get it, man, you can start to see how in your setting it's easy to be doing both, and there's aspects of where, we're just setting the bar here, or like we are calling students to more, and my heart and my goal is like, can we continue to move toward that honeybee side? So that's like my driving passion, is to help folks like you continue to disciple more and more honeybees. If you look at your handout, at the top of the front, I gave a quick explanation of this whole concept. So in case you're like, what did that guy with the beard, what was he talking about? There it is. There's the idea. And so now you know what hippos to honeybees is. The next question is like, okay, Josh, but how? How do I do that? And you'll see on your paper, there are 6 bullet points listed. Those are what I call our 6 priorities. And now we've chosen that language of priorities very intentionally. For me, I'm a little more comfortable with like steps. Like, okay, step 1, check, done, move on. I'm done. Like step 2, okay, like I'm going to keep going after it. This is not that. This is like 6 areas where you're going to continue to have ongoing focus. Like we're going to prioritize in these 6 areas. And so once we grow in an area, man, we got to cycle back to it. It's not like, oh, I did that, I'm done, never again look at it. But no, these are 6 areas that continually emphasize them. And as you do that, I think the result, as you prioritize in these areas, the result is going to be, you're going to see honeybees being developed and unleashed in your ministry. So from a big picture standpoint, these are these like 6 areas that Christian Endeavor would challenge you to focus in on. For today, and we only have 35 minutes left, I want to just touch on the very first priority. So there's a lot we could share with all these priorities, but I want to just dial in a little bit on that first priority. And here's kind of how this is going to work. I'm going to explain it a little bit. We'll learn about it, and then we're going to immediately go back into our groups and do some examination and some discussion. So I really want to take it from like high level to personal, and then I'll end with what are some actions that we can take. I actually have 3 tangible actions that are going to hit differently depending on your context. So I'll explain it, then we'll contextualize it, discuss it, and then get practical with it. All right, and so you can flip your sheet over, and on the back you'll kind of see where we're going. But let me start with explaining this idea. The first priority is buzzing with purpose, or prioritizing purpose. Like, why are we doing what we're doing in youth ministry? And I think this first concept is pretty important, that doing a lot of stuff does not mean producing lasting fruit, right? Like, we could be incredibly busy in youth ministry. There could be a lot of buzz going on. Like, we got these programs, we got these activities, we got these events, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're equipping students to bear fruit, right? So in hippo and honeybee language, buzzing does not always equal honey. But what we want to see is students like actually bearing fruit and living out the gospel and sharing that. Like that's the purpose of what we're getting after. So we got to make sure the stuff we're doing gets us there. And I think another way to think about this would be that our purpose, our destination, determines the route we take. So, in other words, we wouldn't go on like a road trip without knowing where we're trying to get to. Like, oh man, let's just start driving, and maybe we want to get here, but let's go over here first and back here. I mean, that doesn't make any, like, we're not going to get to the destination if we don't have that clarified and in mind. So we need to know, like, man, here's the goal. Here's the purpose of what we're trying to do. And then I want to, good work. That was like 9.5 out of 10. No, I appreciate that. I love calling out yawns every time. And sometimes people are like, but I think get the arms in it, like, right. Okay, anyway.
9.5 just for that?
Well, you had some, there was some vocalization that helped. Yeah. No, that was good. I was impressed. So we got to have the destination. That will determine the route. That will determine the things we do or don't do so that we can get there. And I think Ephesians 4 lays out the destination incredibly well. And this might be a new concept, and we'll wrestle with this in a minute, but I would say the purpose of youth ministry is to help young people grow in 4 dimensions. Up in their connection with Jesus, in their connection with the local church, with their connection with the larger body of Christ, and then out into the world, sharing and showcasing, declaring and displaying the gospel. So like that'd be the 4 dimensions, or 4D purpose. That's what I would call it. And I think we can pull this from Ephesians 4. Let me just read this to you. Ephesians 4, I'm going to start at verse 12. Their responsibility is to equip God's people. And I think this is speaking to us, right? As leaders, our responsibility is to equip young people, God's people, to do his work. That's out. Do his work and build up the church. That's the in. The body of Christ. This will continue until we have all come to such unity in our faith. That's the with component. And the knowledge of God's Son, that we will be mature in the Lord. That's the up. measuring up to the full and complete standard of Christ. So that's really where we would pull this four-dimensional purpose statement from. And I think we can see this also reflected across Scripture as well. But I just love how, like, here in Ephesians 4, it's so succinctly described of, like, we're trying to help kids grow up with God, in with their local church, with the broader body of Christ, and out into the world. So that's our purpose. That's where we're trying to get to. Now, let's make this practical. Because I know for some of you, like, okay, yeah, got all that, but we use kind of different language, or, man, I'm not sure we quite talk about it that way. So here's what I'm going to challenge you to do. It's a little activity that I call Translation Station. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take your church's or your youth ministry's mission statement, okay? Layer the four dimensions over it, and then come up with like a clarified, robust statement of purpose for your youth ministry. And this is just brainstorming, right? I'm not saying like, oh, whatever you write here, you need to implement. No, this is wrestling. And then we're going to test it for some clarity, okay? Let me give you an example of what I mean. So I took the Rosedale Network mission statement, all right? A family working together to mature and multiply churches locally and globally. So that's the mission statement. Layering the four dimensions over that, I think they're all there, right? A family, man, we are part of the church. We are maturing up in our relationship when we are multiplying, going out, churches locally and globally. So not just our church family, but the church. So I love how even in the Rosedale mission statement, the four dimensions are there. And so my goal with like prioritizing purpose is not so much that you would start using the up, in, with, and out, as much as you would like take that four-dimensional purpose and make it fit for where your church is at, right? And then you can kind of wrestle with, man, where are we strong? Where are we weak? This is a lot. I know it's like prime nap time. All right? That's why we're going to be a little active. All right. Let's get back together in our groups, or you can do this individually at first if you want, but then we're going to kind of report together in our groups, like, here's where we're at, here's how I see it connecting with the four dimensions of purpose, and then here's where we're going. All right, go for it.
I don't know our mission statement for church. Hey Josh, is that from a game?
What's that?
Is that from a game?
Yeah, I think it's called Picture This. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, there's other cards that are like caption cards. Yeah. And you're supposed to match like...
Kind of like how do you mean?
Yes.
Pictionary or something.
Yes. Like you... Thank you.
When we go to look at the up, in, out, and this,
Nope.
it doesn't have to go in there? Okay.
Nope. Yep.
Cool, it could just
But-
be however.
However, and the more it can be directly tied to your church's vision and mission, and that's going to be the best. Yeah. Thank you. Next up.
There we go.
Thanks, bro. Thanks, sir.
I guess I'm having a hard time trying to figure out kind of what we're supposed to do here.
All right.
Mission statement is supposed to go with this, or like,
So, do you have like an existing mission?
mission statement, inviting people to go, know Jesus, go for Jesus, and follow Jesus.
Okay. So, but none specifically for like the youth ministry. So this is actually perfect. I think the goal would be like church mission statement, layer the 4 dimensions over it. So what's missing, what's clear, what language is our church using? And then like, okay, with that, as we're looking at that, what should our mission statement be for students? Because the goal, I would say, like Ephesians 4, is to have the 4 dimensions, using our church's language, because we're not a separate thing from the church. So like, how do we take what the church is rolling with, layering the 4 dimensions over it, and then what results, what could we use with students?
Okay.
Is that making sense?
It might take a while.
I know. Yeah. You guys tracking?
Yeah. I'll at least have the vision statement done
Awesome.
in terms of the inward, the upward, the width, and the sharing.
Yeah, we
Okay.
only have a church, and they're working on updating it.
Okay. So even
In
like,
transition there.
yeah.
Our youth group
You said it's
work.
yeah. So you have a youth group, but
There's some tension and friction there between families. So
not just students, but families.
yeah,
Oh wow. Okay. Where are you guys from?
Pulaski, Iowa.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. How long have you guys been leading the youth ministry?
We're not doing youth.
Yeah.
I'm the lead pastor.
Okay. Do you guys have a?
We have
Youth leaders, but we are exploring the option of a youth pastor.
we got like in the next 5 years we'll have like
over 25 kids in our youth.
So you,
More than that.
more than that.
Maybe 30.
Yeah, we've got a ton of little ones, little and mid-age.
So you got to build something.
Yeah.
You got to build for the future as you're bringing health to the current, as you're not doing too much yourselves.
So if you've been in youth ministry for 20 years,
Yeah.
okay, so how, in your experience in ministry, how do you take your children's ministry, the little ones, and build to a place where they easily integrate into the youth? So that's one of the struggles I've seen in churches is there's no integration.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Like, how do you get them to a place where, okay, I go to Sunday school, I go to church, you know, I know these people, we relate on Sunday morning, but then how do you get them to jump that bridge to get them to say, this youth group thing is something that I need. That makes sense.
Yeah. Are they getting that community, like in Sunday school, the kids? 'Cause
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that if you do some of this purpose work, like here's where we're going as a church, here's how that flushes out for our children, and then here's how that flushes out for our students. So like youth group is just the next phase of discipleship from what kids ministry was.
That's what
Yeah.
But it's getting the buy-in.
From who? Who's not buying in right now?
I would say like families don't always buy into that model.
Okay.
Because, you know, you got all the competition with sports, like outside activities, family life, home situations, like, you know, all these factors that play into it. Where in my experience in church life, like, you've got to work through those things to say, here's the purpose of your youth group.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's been a challenge.
Yeah. That's a fun challenge.
Yeah.
Because where my mind is going is that the goal is not to sell them on attending youth group.
No.
The goal is to sell them on like, hey, we want your students to be honeybees.
Yeah.
Right? We want them to be activated because we love them. So you could almost, from that place, say like, what can we do as a church family to facilitate that? Like, parents, it's your job, but we want to help you in that. At your primary calling, you're the primary disciplers, but does that look like we meet every week, or twice a month, or like, are you going to host it in your homes once a month? I would almost say like, yeah, parents, we're on the same page, so let's dream what the program could look like together.
Sometimes the programming actually take them out of the capacity to be honeybees.
Yeah.
Sometimes like the sports and stuff are the avenues of going and doing.
Yeah.
I think sometimes the expectation is like if you're not here every single Friday night, you're not really buying into this. Where, like for us, you know, we're trying to discover what, like some of the things you just listed, like how often do we have to be together? Like, because they're doing like the Christian athletes thing in school on mornings where the youth are getting together. It's like they're doing more of this than they think, and sometimes pulling them like, how do you do here? How do you equip them? Because there still needs to be that time together, I think, in equipping. But so yeah, I agree with how do you discover some of the, I don't know if it's resistance we get, but it's like, well, we grew up where you had 2 youth advisors and 1 youth pastor, and they met every Friday for a youth social, and it's like, if we're not doing that, then we're not doing anything. It's like, that's not working for us too, with the amount of things probably available. Sometimes busyness is bad, but busyness is what these do, right? So I don't know, maybe it gets them out there into the community better than the adults are often. How do we equip them to go out in the community and do it well?
Yeah. But it sounds like if there's some existing tension, then resolving that is an important starting point. Wow. And then you guys, that's critical, it sounds like, for where the church is going, but then you got a lot of other stuff on your plate too, and how are you empowering the youth leaders to be part of that?
Well, that's the thing, and I haven't been here that long yet, so I'm still trying to figure out navigating my, the influence piece there.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm finding out, I think this year's pretty healthy overall.
Okay.
I'm finding out, some of these kids aren't getting it out. So, like you think they would.
Yeah.
With families that have been in the church for 30 years.
Yeah. Length of time in church doesn't mean spiritual maturity.
Doesn't mean that's it's happening at home.
Yeah. Okay, did I give you guys enough time? Everyone has like a perfected mission statement for their youth ministry now. I love where this conversation went, and I think you guys were all kind of overhearing that this is a little messy, right? And what I'm challenging you to do is to wade right into that mess of like, we got programs, we got families, we got schedules, I have responsibilities, but in the midst of that, how do we have clarity about where we're trying to take students? Now, I had dreams of like, and if we had time, dude, we would have totally done this, like writing these things out, posting them on the wall, presenting them to each other. I guess you're lucky that we don't have time, because then you don't have to do that. Here's what I want you to do. Let's get back into our groups and just give like a high-level report to each other of like, here's where we're at, here's some of the stuff that we've just been wrestling with, and maybe here's kind of the clarity or the questions that we have moving forward. I'll give you just a few minutes to do that. Go for it.
I like your name. Thank you. I was afraid to bring it up to you. So I
Our mission statement in our church is inviting people to know Jesus, follow Jesus, and go for Jesus. And so, like figuring out how this all like fits into the four dimensions, there's the in, out, up, and with. So this was the easiest one, but we didn't get till the very last, like duh. But like the in is inviting people to know Jesus, and the know is inviting or to know. That was our up. And Mark chapter 12, verse 30 through 31. You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. And inviting people to know Jesus. So that was the up, obviously. And then the follow Jesus was with. So like walking with Jesus. In John chapter 17, Jesus prays alongside and with the disciples, and also for the converts. John chapter 17, so walking alongside Jesus, coming up and go for Jesus is the last one of the church. So that was kids are a little more allowed. So I was maximum 28 trail.
And some of them are a little younger. They're not quite like teenagers. They're still in our junior church age, which is from 4 years old to 4th grade. And it's such, because like we said, we don't really have youth ministry right now. There's like kids group. It's like 2021.
Yeah.
They're from 4th grade to 4 years old is what she's kind of in charge of. She just became a teacher and everything.
Yeah, right there.
Softball and volleyball and whatever, and they're just schools not far from there, and it's playing with them. And then we do kind of did, she also, what I was going to do with the youth ministry for that part also do nursery, but sometimes it's the siblings of those. So like, it all kind of,
I think for us, it's
we
like,
have
I
another
think
baby to the nursery, but it all kind of runs those.
we're just establishing the youth group, probably the last
And
few
so
years in a sense,
our
so.
calling is trying
And I'm past that living hope, so we're still discovering what all this looks like. We don't have anything for the youth necessarily.
we've actually have lost.
I put our churches down, I won't even really get into it, but I guess it hit me too, like the youth to own this and be part of it. How do we give them a vision along the lines, as you were saying, with the same language with the church, but to, yeah, and I like the four dimensions piece of it, to really get, even for them to see in their minds, this is the objective of this is what we're trying to accomplish, so.
Yeah,
I have some homework to do.
You know, kind of looking for a youth pastor right now, and like a youth pastor slash assistant pastor.
We have to use it, but
Two
we
separate
don't have
roles.
a lot of conflict with
You know,
the families of our youth.
I think that person could
Kinda hit or
possibly do
miss.
both roles,
Not-
but at the same
They're trying to
time,
create structure for it,
you know, because I feel
but,
like the pastors
they don't have their own, like,
you know, this is a
statement,
youth pastor's life.
thing yet.
You know, why should the main
So I just
family
use
have
the
to
churches for now, and then we'd have to create
that shouldn't
language.
be.
I think the churches one needs to change too, because it's too long to
Right, yes,
remember it.
right,
But,
it has to start from, yeah.
so how it reads is, we are a diverse and welcoming congregation, committing to sharing the love of Christ with all people. Come as you are and join us as we worship, learn and serve together. We can't wait to meet you. So that's kind of where they went. So I use the welcoming as the in, the love of Christ as the up, the learn together is the with, and then sharing is the going out.
We started that in the first year.
Our statement is, we exist to glorify God and proclaim Jesus Christ. In love, we invite all to experience Christ in worship, truth, and hospitality. And basically, I sort of, I identified we exist, that's the end. And then to glorify God and proclaim Jesus Christ, that is the up. That's the purpose. In love, we invite all, that's the out, going out, to experience Christ in worship. In Christ,
So even like that, like
to experience Christ in worship, truth, and hospitality.
until you build up together.
So I just sort of rewrote it. I know that the youth, they do have them.
It's such
I
a
don't know what it is.
struggle.
Can't find it on the website, but I can walk into the room and
So they are trying to
so I'm not quite sure what they have come up with, but I just sort of rewrote it with what we had. To sort of
our pastor invited us.
that youth glorifying God and proclaiming Jesus Christ. Lovingly, we invite everyone to experience Christ by worshiping Christ truthfully. So just sort of rearrange that a little bit, trying to bring it down to their level. I know they have that, so this is a lot longer than one that they have. I know that. So I'm sure they're going to keep this.
Well, I did find ours on our website, so I didn't know if it was on there, but it was. But it said that we exist to proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ and to help believers grow through worship, instruction, fellowship, and service. And a good adaptation for that for the youth would maybe just change believers to youth. And then possibly maybe add a thing in there and maybe say to discover or utilize their gifts as a way of saying, hey, we're trying to get them involved in some way here. But I had like the end being we exist, kind of like yours was, and then the with as proclaiming, worshiping, instruction. The in here again as believers or youth. Up to grow, and then the out is fellowship and service. And I did find a blurb for our youth. I don't know if I wrote this or the person who managed our website wrote this, but it says our youth group exists to provide, and that may need to be updated.
Good catch. Wow.
So it's like, but then it goes to say provide a safe and welcoming space where students can build community with their peers and grow in their faith. But still, the idea of we're there to provide or we're there to
And let me tell you what.
to providing them to them provide type of thing. So I might need to have them update that in some way, shape, or form that puts it back on the youth.
All right, everybody, I'll call you back together. Man, awesome discussion going on. I really, really love this. The next step, which I put this here on the handout because I knew we would only have time just to mention it. The final step of Translation Station is to kind of run it through like, is this clear? Is this usable? And there's really 4 tests that I would challenge you to run it through. So like the pastor test, does the pastor see how this makes the youth ministry and the church directly connect? Like, does he see that it's not just a silo, but man, we're discipling young people so they can be part of the church? The youth test, do they see how they are being called to be activated, not just a program that's provided or done for them? The completeness test, do you see all 4 of those dimensions there? And then the usability test is like, man, is this short enough and clear enough that people will actually remember it and not just, oh, it's somewhere, maybe I wrote it down some spot, but like, man, yeah, everybody, it's on tip of our tongue. This is where we're going. This is what we're about. I also wrote these on your notes so you wouldn't have to like, I gotta write these real quick. I always love with each of these 6 priorities to say, hey, here's a super practical way that this could work. And now maybe some of these you're like, Josh, that is just not where we're at. Awesome. Maybe some of these you're like, oh, I never thought of that. This is spot on. So it's going to hit differently. But one concept, if you want to be buzzing with purpose, is the idea of taking an event that you do through the purpose filter. Whether that's your like weekly programming or like one of your special events that you do, which of the 4 dimensions does it connect with? Well, we do it because we've always done it, right? This is how we've always done. Well, like, is it purposeful? Is it taking us to the destination? You could also do that, number 2, with your entire year. And this is my favorite. Like, let's lay out everything we do over the course of a year. How much of it is in each dimension area? So, like, with everything we've been challenged with by Greg, like, how many times throughout the year are we actually doing an out kind of thing, right? That's, like, super clarifying. And then, again, I'm just copying what Greg said. Like, we got to make this personal. We got to do this, right? We got to be living those 4 dimensions ourselves before we're like programming it or challenging students to do that. All right, in our last 2 minutes together, I wanted to share with you kind of like how Christian Endeavor and Rosedale Network are working together. This same QR code is also the one on the little sheet that I gave you, okay? So whether you scan it now or you have that sheet so you have it with you, we talked about just one of the 6 priorities, right? So one of the 6 areas of how you move from hippos to honeybees, and we've been brainstorming a lot. My heart is to like invest in churches in this network. And I think you can see, particularly from like this conversation we had, that like, yeah, there's the 6 priorities, but there's a lot of context for each church. And like, not every church is the same. And so the way we prioritize these things is going to be different. So kind of the place we landed is Christian Endeavor is going to provide what we call our Hippos to Honeybees starter kit. And you can see that out in our booth. It's a physical box with a whole lot of stuff, specifically like a booklet for each priority that you can dive deep in. A virtual coaching session. I'm going to be at Pastors Conference and Multiply Conference for the foreseeable future. So I would love, just like I've sat down with a bunch of guys just this week to say, hey, let me know how you're doing. Like they've heard about Hippos to Honeybees and we've been wrestling with where they've come since last year. And then a discount on bringing a CE speaker to your church if that'd be valuable. So we've kind of put this all as a bundle. My goal is not to sell you on that, but to say, here's how we're trying to make this available. So I gave you just a little taste. Again, 1 out of 6 priorities. And my heart is that you'd be able to wrestle with the other things, continue to wrestle with, man, where are we at with hippos versus honeybees in our ministry, and to lean into making more and more honeybees to spread the gospel. So let me just pray a blessing over you before we go take an amazing tour. God, we're so thankful for today. Thankful for your love and your grace and your mercy. Thank you for the time that we can spend together at Pastor's Conference and the time we spent together wrestling with how our ministries, our youth ministries, can be buzzing with purpose. And I just ask that you would continue to give wisdom and guidance and discernment to everyone in this room. Give them encouragement for the ministry you're calling them to do. And we're so excited for how young people will be raised up through their churches to be speakers and sharers of the good news to a world that so desperately needs it. And Jesus, in all this we say we love you. Thanks for loving us first. Amen. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Appreciate you being here.